Hey guys, welcome back to the Football Nation podcast. I hope everyone is good. Today we're going to be talking about the league in the non-league this year. What a season it's been in the National League. We're also going to look at the situation with Rochdale and the situation they could, if they get relegated, they could go into administration, the relegation, the promotion, and much more. We're also going to look at all the games around Europe. This is the Football Nation, your home of all things football. We're going to hit the trailer now. Hey guys, welcome back to the Football Nation podcast, your home of all things football. I'm joined today by my co-host Paul. How are you, Paul? Excited for the
I'm
weekend?
good, mate. I'm just getting my voice back from Tuesday night, and I've got no doubts Tim feels the same. Tuesday was massive, so yeah, I'm just about got my voice back. I didn't think I'd be able to speak today, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'm good. How are you, mate?
I am really good. Looking forward to this one. Something different. Did you want to introduce our guest today, Paul?
Yeah, so Tim we went viral lately, didn't you, mate? To be fair, for your video on Twitter after the county game, so that's kind of, any Wrexham fan knows who Tim is, because obviously everybody kind of follows the Fearless in Devotion pod. Top bloke. He's always up to date with his Wrexham news. I think, if you need to know Wrexham news, you go to him on Twitter. Him and Liam, who does the vlogs for us, both top blokes. And the news about the stadium that's come out today, I think I saw it on your Twitter feed, mate, is just...
I saw about that. I read about that.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, we will get into all of that wonderful stuff soon. So, yeah, Tim, did you want to introduce yourself, say a bit about what you do?
Yeah, well, I think Paul's pretty much done me pretty decent there, to be fair. So yeah, I used to do a bit of media for the club ages ago when there was about 4 people on the staff, just mucking in because I used to be a journalist and all that sort of stuff. And then they shifted the goalposts a bit more. The people came in, they wanted to have students and stuff, so that's fine. And then I just sat there one day on Boxing Day 2014. I thought I want to start my own little fan type thing, so I did, and then obviously it's gained traction over the last couple of years specifically. So the Fearless and Devotion thing was born back then. It's just grown, obviously, because of everything that's been going on. So it's just been nice to be there before the takeover, and we'll be here long after the takeover as well, no doubt. So it's just good times at the moment. So it's nice to do the podcast. It's nice to produce the fanzines, and just try and deliver as much stuff as we can. I mean, I'm feeling it this week though, because you're trying to keep your finger on the pulse for everything. You look away from 1 minute, you're trying to do your day job, and next minute I'm looking back. So, oh yeah, Wrexham playing Chelsea in San Diego. Of course they are. Yeah. It's like every day is a fever dream. I kid you not. It's just something every day. It's madness.
You're playing us in pre-season as well, aren't you, United?
Yeah. Well, we're playing the kids. So if we don't beat your kids, I'll be very disappointed. Very disappointed.
If we don't beat your kids, mate, I'm not coming on the podcast for a month. I won't do this.
We'll do a watch along for that.
So it's a bit mental that though as well, because the ticket price for that is ridiculous, isn't it? Because obviously they got snapped up, and then Ticketmaster runs the touts in America as well. So they originally were like $200-$300, some of them, and then they were going for like $2,500-3 grand. And it's like, that's a friendly against a youth team. So, and everybody knows it's Man United youth. It's not Man United first team. It's weird, like how big Wrexham are.
Yeah, we'll get a lot
good way
onto it later in the podcast. But
it's a little bit different than paying like 200 quid for the Isle of Man Steam Packet Festival tournament that Wrexham used to play in years ago, and that would include your ferry there and back and your hotel. Yeah. So, there we are.
Yeah, we'll get all into Wrexham later on, but I've been looking forward to this podcast quite especially the last year or so. I've been with Wrexham. I've been following what they've been getting on, and they've really got me into it. And we do Paul does a non-league show on our channel, and just the love it's been getting. We really appreciate all your support, guys. And that
I will
will be
talk about other teams on that as well. It does just focus on Wrexham, but I will talk about other teams on it at some point.
So you're the
hey-
reason why everybody hates us.
Oh, massively, mate. Yeah. It's always me who winds up that Notts County zone and gets him to disappear for a few days as well.
I've never felt more like a Millwall fan than I do right now. Honestly. Great.
Yep. So, going into the leagues, we're going to start with the Barclays Premier League and Aston Villa 3, Newcastle United 0. What a game by Villa. What a turnaround under Emery. They're now fighting for Europe. What has he done at Villa, Paul?
I mean, Emery's a good manager. Let's be very honest. He's got great tactics. He knows how to set a team up, and he's got a really good bunch of lads there. You know, Ollie Watkins, Coutinho. Even when you look at the back, you've got Konsa, Martinez in goal. They're not a bad side. They were badly coached. I mean, Gerrard will never make it. Never be a manager as long as he's got a hole in his ass. Let's be really honest about it. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, he's a footballing icon as a player. But, you know, Emery's different gravy, and he just knows how to not get beat. You saw him when he was he at Sevilla previously?
Yeah.
He did really well with them, didn't he? So, yeah, I think Villa in the next couple of years could really be a shoo-in for European football. Tottenham aren't going to last up longer up there unless they get a decent manager. So, and they're only 3 points behind him.
Yeah. It's mental. It's like they were near the relegation zone when they took him over.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it, isn't it? And they've sold Danny Ings as well.
Yeah.
So Ings has gone to West Ham, and Ollie Watkins has stepped up and really kind of taken over. Then you got Matty Cash has kind of found new life since becoming a Poland international, which is the most weird international call up in the world. Matty Cash going and playing for Poland, but I worried for him after the World Cup. Martinez looked a bit iffy after the World Cup, but he seems to have found a little bit of form again.
I've always really rated him as a keeper.
Yeah, I think their problem will be transfers. I still think Villa's not an attractive club for your big European players. But, you know, I suppose if Emery can talk them around, you know, nothing wouldn't be much surprise me.
He's went from one club in England who haven't won a European competition to one who has. So it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
We didn't have TVs when they won it, but yeah.
But in the other hand, Newcastle though, what happened there? They've been playing so well.
I think Newcastle
jump in by the way when you want him.
I mean, I think Newcastle are just such a good team. At some point, they're going to have a game like that, aren't they? They play at such a high standard, and when they do drop off, they'll drop off dramatically. And I think that's what we saw, really.
There was a flaw in that comment about Lampard being he'll never be his manager as long as he's got a hole in his ass. He can't have a hole in his ass because he's full of shit. So you know that's the problem.
Very true.
And like, you know what? You have to say fair play, because some of these great players clearly don't make great managers, and they're just sadists. They just love doing it.
Gerrard.
Gerrard. I think they genuinely love doing it because maybe it sounds cynical, but I think that they do it to try and stay relevant and try and stay in the public eye, rather than just like, you know, put your boots up. You're a legend. You'll always be welcome back there. You'll always have a free spread on every time you tip up. Don't damage your legacy. And I think like a good example of that, well, a reasonable example, probably Roy Keane. You know, he did well at Sunderland. Then he kind of got found out a bit, and he thought, why don't I just stick to what I'm good at, which is being a general pain in the ass as a pundit, which is great. It's much more fun.
He gave it a go and then gave up because he was so
Paul
bad.
Ince is like the opposite, isn't he? Look how many jobs Paul Ince has had. He's just been sacked by Reading.
Yeah.
And turned around and said, there is nobody that could turn Reading around. No, it's just that you can't organise a team. You never have been able to organise a team. And that's why you've never got a big job. It's because you are just a bad manager.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next we have Another bad manager in Frank Lampard. He's taken over Chelsea. They've actually got worse than they were under Graham Potter. Who would have guessed? They should have just gave Graham Potter the job till the end of the season at that point. At this point,
Here's a stat. I said it to you before we went live. Real Madrid have scored more goals in England this year than Chelsea.
it's amazing.
I mean, that's if you spent £700 million and you can't get a tune out of that, then it's time to resign. And they need to get the manager in now, because otherwise, and I saw Paul Merson say this, and I never agree with Paul Merson because he's an absolute knob. But for this, I completely agree with him. Get the manager in now. Don't wait till May when the players will all go off on holiday. Get him in now. Let him sort out who he wants, who he doesn't, and then work towards next season. Otherwise, he comes in May. They all go off on holiday for 4 weeks, and then he's got to do it in end of July, August. Well, yeah, it's too late then. So
the story's coming out today as well that some of the players are considering their future with Chelsea because the haphazard ownership of Todd Boehly.
Oh, Todd Boehly's he's a man whose money has never been. He's a man who has always been able to solve his issues with money.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, the players don't like Todd Boehly by the sound of it.
I do have a couple of score updates for you, which I'm just putting up now. Sevilla are beating Manchester United 1-0, which is awesome. And Sporting are losing to Juventus 1-0, and Leverkusen are still winning 1-0 as well. So, what was the score in the first leg with Sevilla? Out of curiosity,
it was 2-2 because we got like both of our centre backs injured, and then it fell apart.
Should we see who scored? Let's have a look. En-Nesyri, Yusuf En-Nesyri. So 1 shot, 1 goal.
Fair. Yeah.
Go on, Sevilla.
Yeah, we have
sorry if I'm giving you travel sickness, lads. I ordered a curry because I failed massively to get a food shop in, and it arrived early. So I've just bunged it in the microwave. I'll have it in a bit. So if you see me chomping away, I excuse the quality of your broadcast.
You're just making us hungry. Don't worry, buddy. I'll order a takeaway with them.
Well, it's curry 1. Tim 0 is a score at this end at the moment. So
yeah. Nice. Yeah, Brighton again though, continuing a great season.
I said it about you, Villa, didn't I? A minute ago, they could get Europe. Brighton have got 2 games in hand on Villa, and they're only 3 points behind them.
Yeah.
Potter did miracles at Brighton, and I think he got him to a stage where he probably couldn't take him any further. And now they've got a European manager in to bring that European style of football. Thriving. McAllister in the midfield. If they keep hold of him in the summer, they've done really well.
I think Liverpool and United are in talks with him because it looks like he's going to leave in the summer.
The Wish version of Bellingham for Liverpool, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
And that's not a slag on McAllister.
Yeah, I'd definitely take him, to be fair. We need competition in that position, so I'd definitely take him. What's your thoughts on this game, Tim?
I knew you'd catch me with a mouthful of like nonsense. Did that on purpose.
He definitely waited till your camera moved away. He's like, right, here we go.
Like, if it's not bad enough, I've had to put my curry away to one side to have it after. But now you've caught me. Right. Remind me. So it's just the United game you're on about then? Sorry.
No,
Brighton game.
Chelsea Brighton.
I don't know really. It's a weird one. I mean, Chelsea are having a bit of a nightmare, aren't they? Full stop. I mean, they're all over the shop. Love Brighton to win it. Would love them to win it because they're having such a good season. Strong season. And probably one of those seasons that they're probably not going to match again. And that's me being slightly cynical. But
yeah,
I mean, let's face it, any self-respecting Brighton fan will say that they're absolutely punching above their weight. But in a good way. So what's the current score at the moment? Because I run everything through my phone, and as I'm on my phone at the moment, I'm like
that was last week. That was 2-1.
There you go. Clearly, it's all been about Wrexham in it this week. That's why my head's up my ass.
I don't know the scores that he gives me on a Thursday, mate. I'm like you.
Yeah, I'm like one of these that I'll take notes of the Premier League as and when I need to. But Chelsea are weird. I get the feeling that Bowley fella doesn't really know what he's doing, or maybe he's been ill-advised. He's sort of chucking some cash at it, but not getting very
I
far.
was talking to a friend who's a Chelsea fan the other day. He's started following Wrexham after the documentary a little bit. And I was
Right.
like, the difference in how we're ran with 2 Americans coming in, or an American and a Canadian, to how you're ran with a new American coming in. Our 2 have gone away, we don't know anything about football. We need to get people in, and they've got the right people in. Todd Bowley's come in and gone, I've got loads of money. I'm going to make myself director of football.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And he's just chucked money at it, and it doesn't work when you chuck money at it. City did it when they first got money. They signed Robinho, and he thought he was signing for United.
I think
Doesn't
the problem we
work.
got, I mean, our owners had to do it in a proper way because from a reputational point of view, everything's on the line. Todd Bowley doesn't give a shit if his reputation gets damaged, let's be honest. But when you're in the public spotlight and you're a film and TV star, then it's a slightly different shine, you know. So it really is a reputational risk for them, really. So they've had to go about most things the right way. On the surface of it, you know, a lot of stuff they've done on the surface of it has been great. There's still a little bit of undercurrent behind the scenes that people are still unsure of. Not really at the owners, but other structures in place. But I've got Swansea friends, and obviously they've got an American sort of, you know, American mafia, as my friend calls it, in charge. And he's just said that the difference between the way we run it and the difference in the way Swansea run it and the likes of Chelsea are just poles apart. And all fans want is a bit of transparency.
Yeah.
You know, to a degree. If you're going to come in from a different country, we don't know who you are, at least put the structures in to say, yeah, this person's good. He's my football advisor, and he comes with a decent reputation. Do that.
Just look at us. I mean, obviously, I'm a United fan, and the way the Glazers have owned us, it's like the first.
It's just humility, isn't it? You don't know everything. Put people in place who've been there and done it. Get the right men around you, but that's with any. I mean, at the end of it, these people are businessmen. They should know this. But
yeah,
the only reason Newcastle fans are buzzing at the moment, and the reason that they can almost look past the sports washing of the sort of Qatari money is the fact that they were so stuck in their ways with the whole, you know, sports director Mike Ashley, and they were going nowhere. They were just treading water. Yeah. So for them to get rid of him and have this, you know, was it Saudi Arabia or Qatar?
Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
To have all that come in, you know, there is a moral aspect to all this, as you very well know. But I think as Newcastle fans, they've been starved of success for so long that they're almost prepared to look past that and turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
And you know, I think Man United fans would absolutely bite anybody's hand off at the moment to get, you know, the Glazers out and start afresh, because it's clear that Ten Hag's doing a decent job there with what he's got. And
8 days to the final deadline. Come on, please.
He seems to know what he's doing, doesn't he? He knows what he's doing. I think as a manager, he seems to have something about him. So
the rumours about United, just while we're on the Premier League, Jono, is that the Glazers are now seeking just external investment to keep the control of the club.
Yeah, but
I saw reporting that the other week.
Yeah,
the other day.
That's come out after that. It sounds like that's just them pushing. They know what they want, and it's close to that 6 billion already. I think the final bids were like, I think the last rounds were like around about 5.5.
I've just got this feeling. I think United fans are going to end up very disappointed at the end of this.
So we shall see.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting week. Anyway, moving on. Next, we go to another disappointing club in Spurs, who lost 2-3 to Bournemouth at Spurs. Another poor result. Son getting on the score sheet again, and shocking defending for the first Bournemouth goal, and then it's quite a close game, but Bournemouth just took it. A really good result for Bournemouth. Do we think that could potentially help them towards safety?
Well, the story of that isn't that Spurs are poor or whatever. The story is that Bournemouth, since Gary O'Neill took over, have actually played some decent football. Found himself 14th, 6 points clear of Forest. they'll stay up now. They're 33 points, I think it is. So look, yeah, 33 points. They've won 3 of the last 5. You know, the teams below them are poor, but
Mm.
you know, I don't mind Bournemouth. I think they've done it kind of the right way. They play football the right way. They changed their manager early as well. They didn't react. They changed their manager because he came out in the press and was a bit of a knobhead and criticised them. And you can't criticize your owners. You know, they're your bosses at the end of the day. And they got the right man in. He's got them playing football the right way, and they're getting results. And they deservedly beat Spurs, contrary to what their manager said after the game. He had a bit of sore losing about him, and you know, just take it on the chin. Spurs they're Spursy, aren't they?
I just don't understand with Spurs. Why would you sack your manager and give it to your assistant manager if you want to change? Especially the assistant manager has been with Conte for his whole career. You're just basically appointing.
Is it Henry that was on? Is it Henry that was on the pod with you the other week?
Yeah,
the Tottenham fan. Yeah. So I follow him on Twitter, obviously, after he came and did some work for us. And he was saying that there's so many rumours around Tottenham now that the other members of the board are telling Levy to go and get Pochettino and that he will come back and that they've already kind of had a conversation with him. And it's Levy saying no, because he won't swallow his pride and just go, I made a mistake. And instead, they'll get somebody who doesn't know the club, somebody who'll try and change the complete ethos of the club. It'll fail, and in 2 years, they'll be back where they are now, and no better off for it.
On the plus side, they've got a really lovely ground.
Yeah, that toilet bowl is delightful. They've got a great trophy cabinet as well.
Spurs are weird, and I'm annoyed that they didn't beat Bournemouth, because I've got issues with Gary O'Neill, because from a Welsh perspective, I do hope Bournemouth stay up. However, him coming out and having a go at Mepham and Kiefer Moore, saying, "Oh, you know, where do your priorities lie?" You wouldn't say that if Jermaine Defoe was still there and he's playing for England, you know. So that kind of annoyed me a bit. But I mean, Bournemouth again, another one of those clubs that it's nice to see mixing it in the top flight, and you know, with the respect to them and Brentford and all that, it gives the little man, in inverted commas, hope to get there, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And our last game this week for the Premier League is Leeds 1-6 Liverpool. Leeds continuing their horrendous form, and Liverpool getting a win they really, really need. And
it won't change anything. It's the 7-0 against United again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, who do Liverpool play next? Do we know?
They played Bournemouth after us and then lost that, didn't they? I don't know who they got.
Yeah, so let's have a look. Liverpool play Forest and then play West. I mean, Liverpool got 2 quite comfortable games, you would think, ahead of Tottenham. They should beat Forest and they should beat West Ham, but West Ham is away. And those are 2 teams really fighting for their lives, so they'll come and make it difficult for Liverpool. That is a guarantee.
I think they'll beat Spurs.
I think they'll beat Spurs. I think they'll probably lose against Forest and West Ham.
Yeah.
Liverpool are so inconsistent, and you don't become a bad team overnight, and losing Sadio Mane doesn't suddenly make you a really bad team either. I think the difference is this year, there's no the midfield's got old. They've not signed an established midfielder now for 6 seasons. I think Thiago was the last one that came in. And then Trent's defending is usually kind of picked up by the midfield. When he disappears, a midfielder tends to fill in. That's not happened this year, which exposed Van Dijk. It's been But that said, if he moves Trent into midfield and signs a right back, I think he's got a ready-made world-class midfielder in Trent Alexander-Arnold, because his passing.
I think he's been linked with right backs this week, so I think that's what he's doing.
He's got to, hasn't he? Because Trent Alexander-Arnold was a midfielder when Klopp came to the club, and it was Klopp that turned him into a defender. Similar with Gerrard went the other way. So I don't know, maybe that's the way to do it. Play him on the right side of a midfield 3 so he can cross it from deep still. There's rumours that Fabio Carvalho will leave the club in the summer. See, you signed from Fulham. I think he'll probably be on loan, but I think there'll be an exodus. I think Milner's probably going to leave this summer. I think his contract's up anyway. Fabinho will probably leave. Matip. Firmino's leaving. I like Bobby Firmino. I've got a bit of time for him. I think he's an underrated player.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He does the dirty work that doesn't really get noticed. And he's one of the top scorers this season.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
His teeth don't show that dirty work, though, do they?
No. He's definitely got some Turkish teeth on him, hasn't
he? He doesn't drink tea or coffee, that boy. Definitely not.
There's rumours, though, Mane could go back to Liverpool after the bust up with Sane, because they've given him like a 300 grand fine, and he said, well, I want to leave. So there's talk that Liverpool might go back for him. But I mean, if they got Mane back, that front line is dangerous.
Yeah.
So, but you never know with Liverpool. I think they'll probably lose one of the next 2 games and then beat Tottenham. Sounds about right for Liverpool.
Yeah. And Leeds, do we think they're on borrowed time in this league? They are horrendous. That's the second back-to-back. They lost 5-1 to Crystal Palace in their last game.
It's 11 goals in the last 2 home, isn't it?
Such a cheap, weird managerial appointment. I think if you offered what's his name? I forgot his name now. You know, the Leeds legend manager, the one before March.
Bielsa.
Bielsa.
If you offered Leeds fans Bielsa back now, they'd carry him into the ground probably.
Oh God, yeah.
Just because, like, if you're going to go down fighting.
They would cry when he left.
They go down entertaining. You know, March put a sticking plaster on it, and I don't know. I mean, I saw the highlights of that Liverpool game, and Leeds defending. They might as well just put some deck chairs up and let Liverpool.
They gave up, didn't they? After it went to I think 3, and then they just seemed to stop trying. And
it was just poor. Though, it was just poor. It was poor. Even that first goal was like, it was just. Salah's goal was thoroughly unavoidable, as good as it was a good finish. But
it could be good for Jota though. Jota coming back and getting on the score sheet. That could be good for his confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. What I don't understand with the Leeds appointment of Gracia, just while on that subject of Gracia, he failed at Watford.
Twice.
Who were relegation battlers. So you've gone and got a bloke who's already flopped in a relegation battle and gone, oh, let's give him another go. No. You don't bring him,
It's like the modern day managerial merry-go-round. Remember, we used to have like Sam Allardyce and several Sam Allardyce, Hodgson,
Big
and
Sam.
Sam Allardyce. Before a 5 in that mix, and he'd be like, "Oh right, I'm out of a job," and you can almost guarantee they've got like a WhatsApp group going, "Are you having my job?"
Yeah,
I bet you they're just like laughing their heads off, going,
"Oh, of course they are." And
Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce is
Bruce, great player, not a great manager.
No. He looks like he's about one Big Mac as well from keeling over, doesn't he, Steve Bruce? he does look like.
Yeah, he doesn't look too well.
No,
so, you find money, just chill out and enjoy life.
Yeah. Apparently, his lad told him that because Alex Bruce was at Hull with him when he left Hull. He apparently told him like that should be it now. Don't do any more. It's a load of stress on you and everything else. And he just ignored him and went and did another job. Why are you doing it?
It is, isn't it? It's quite funny because you look at that team that he was in, or the main Man United mainstays of that team, and then several of them tried management, several of them didn't. It's as simple as that. Schmeichel went nah. Pallister, no thanks. McClare, no thanks, as far as I'm aware. And you got like a few others, your Giggses and your Keanes, bizarrely from sort of midfield forward, apart from Yapstam maybe, but it's just a weird mix. You get sometimes, the Fergie effect rubs off on people, and sometimes it doesn't.
I think McClare gave up shaving after he retired as well. He looks like Father Christmas these days, doesn't he?
Here's a question. I admit Ollie's a horrendous manager, but out of Ollie, Lampard and Gerrard, only one of them's made Champions League back to back, and I'd say it's probably arguably the worst manager of all 3 of them.
Yeah. I would say what Gerrard did in Spain trumps anything Ole and Frank have done. It's not Spain, Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Yeah.
Moving on to the Bundesliga next, and a game, Schalke 5, but Hertha Berlin 2. Schalke obviously in the relegation battle. They've hit a bit of better form. Had some up and down form the last little bit. Since we had our relegation episode, they've picked up a few
Yeah.
results. They're still there or thereabouts for relegation. They're still in the bottom three. Do we think they can pull it away after?
I haven't really looked at the Bundesliga lately, I'll be honest. I'm just having a quick look at the table now. I mean, realistically, they're 5 points below Bochum in 15th, and they are 2 behind Stuttgart. I would say they're gone.
Yeah,
Hertha Berlin.
probably
Schalke might pull away,
Yeah,
but I think Hertha are done for.
I mean that's what I meant. Schalke to pull away.
Yeah, Schalke might pull away. Schalke are level points. They might get into that 16th, which is a playoff, but I don't think they'll get much higher than that. I mean, interestingly, Bochum, they were 15th. They leak goals like nobody's business. So, there's a chance they might really fall away. But Bochum have won, I think, 2 out of the last 5. So, yeah.
It's really.
I mean,
tight
I know
on
it's
the
weird because that's quite an interesting relegation battle. And I think that's kind of, when you like watch what BT Sport are showing from Europe, that would be kind of the right way to do it, is have that relegation battle shown, because there's 5 teams that could get relegated.
Yeah.
You don't get that very often with relegation battle, especially not at this stage of the season. They're all separate. I mean, 17th to 13th is separated by 5 points.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
We spoke about it in the relegation episode, but it's just still mental how many massive teams are like near the bottom of the table.
I think that's across Europe though as well. I mean,
across
I was
Europe,
talking to
in England, you got Leeds. You've got,
I think even lower than that, because like in Spain, Deportivo La Coruña are in the
Valencia.
3rd tier of Spanish football. I mean, Deportivo La Coruña were one of the biggest teams in Europe when I was growing up, and they're like one of their like former players has paid his transfer fee to go back to play for him this season, which is mental. He's gone, do you know what? They're in trouble. I don't need to play at the top level anymore. I'm not going to play international football. So paid his transfer fee and off he went. And I think he's playing. He's doing like a Ben Foster is. He's paying for peanuts, and he's trying to get them back up to where they belong. I think across Europe, we will see the likes of Schalke and teams like that. Probably Valencia in a few years in La Liga disappear.
Yeah, I think
and I think if they do get relegated, especially like Valencia, they've got so much debt, they won't come back up very quickly.
Valencia have got that half-built stadium there, just standing there, which they can't finish.
Yeah, there's been no work on it for 2 years.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that? And that's probably where most of their debt comes from, because it will have been paid for. So I mean, I haven't really followed Bundesliga all that much. If I'm honest, just because a bit like Tim, my head is quite literally up my backside, trying not to think about Saturday. So,
football doesn't exist outside the National League, as far as I'm concerned.
Which
is quite ironic when you think of everybody in the Premier League and the Championship upwards. You go, football doesn't exist outside the top 2 divisions. So I'm spinning that idea on its head.
Yeah, and next we had cracking game. Stuttgart 3, Dortmund 3. 10-men Stuttgart getting the draw against Dortmund. What a game this was. Big up Dortmund striker Haller getting on score streak again. He's been in really good form since he came back from his cancer treatment, which is really good to see. We're happy about his return to form. But yeah,
I'm just looking at that. There were 4 goals in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was mental.
Why was there 7 minutes of injury time though?
I think it's because of the red card. I didn't actually see what happened with the red card, but I think
because the red card was in the first half. I'm just looking at the stats now. So red card was in the 39th minute, but Movember for Stuttgart equalised in the 97th.
Yeah, 96.
So I wonder why. I wonder why they've added 7 minutes on. Maybe there was an injury or something like that. But so after the 78th minute, there were 4 goals.
Yeah,
which is
mad.
A big collapse from Dortmund. It's probably given the league to Munich. You'd think.
Yeah.
Bayern probably won't slip up now.
On Munich though, they've screwed up second Nagelsmann. They were fighting in all competition when they sacked Nagelsmann. Now they're out of the
you
German.
tweet that early. Yeah.
now they're out of the German Cup and out of the Champions League.
There's some. I mean, we were talking about owners before. There is some discontent, being voiced by Munich fans because of the way the club is being ran this season, because they've sacked their manager the way they are, and because they feel that the club is the club has always been quite proactive in their decisions, and they feel now they're being very reactive, like sacking Nagelsmann and going straight to Tuchel, who hasn't really impressed. They think that they're saying the decisions aren't being thought out correctly.
I've heard reports that
you know,
their director might to lose. Is about to.
Yeah, I think in Bayern as well, some of the directors on the board and things like that, they get voted. It's a voting system, a bit like Barcelona is.
Yeah.
So he might be up for re-election. I don't know, but because obviously in Germany, especially, the fans have a much bigger say than they do here.
Yeah, it's one, isn't it?
Yeah, so they'll get a say who's on the board, and if he's messing it up in their eyes, he won't be keeping his job for very long.
It's so weird to see though, because I've always seen Bayern as a club is probably one of the best run clubs in Europe. They've always been so.
That's it. I think that's why there's this massive discontent now. Is that why is this happening? We were, like you said, we were fighting for the treble at one point, and now we've got a new manager in, and we're out with two of the competitions. And they didn't just go out gracefully against Man City, did they? They bombed.
Yeah.
So,
Upamecano is horrendous.
It's but I suppose it's got to be hard if you're Bayern Munich because there's no competition in that league. They've won the league for the last 10 years. At what point? A bit like PSG will never win Europe because there's no competition in the league. So,
and that's why the Qatars are in for us, and that's part. They say it's not the actual Qatar. We all know it's the same people, and a part of that is the Qatars have said that the league is not competitive enough.
Yeah, it's not. And
I'll
touch on it a little bit more when we talk about the National League, about why I think that's important. But if you don't have competition in your domestic league, you will never win a competition, never in a European competition, because you never actually get better.
Yeah.
You don't get challenged, so you don't have to force yourself to get better. Neymar, in PSG, have got an 11 of the best players in the world. Yet they routinely fall at the quarterfinals of Europe.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. If you were getting challenged every week, those players would be right on top form. If they were right on top form, if you're right
not
on
a squad.
Exactly.
It's like Chelsea. Looking at Chelsea this season, it's not a squad.
Yeah, Arsenal at the moment, Arsenal have to be right on that top form every week to get the result to keep City off the top place. If they slip up, they know they can't afford to slip up every week, which forces them to raise their game every week. It doesn't happen with likes of PSG. It doesn't happen with Bayern Munich. It wasn't happening with Juventus. It now is happening with Napoli, and that forces you to get better and try, and improve. Whereas otherwise, you stagnate and get a bit bored. And plus, PSG sign old players, don't they? Sergio Ramos and the likes, Messi and players like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
That was a random rant. I apologize.
Pensioners Saint-Germain.
Yeah. It's a retirement league, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely. Next, we had RB Leipzig 3, Augsburg 2. Another good game.
Oh, I have seen a bit of this game.
Yep.
I've seen the goal of the season in Bundesliga from Timo Werner. The ball played into him. He flicks it up with the outside of his foot at 20 yards out and volleys it into the top corner. It is...
It was a good goal. He scored his 99th and 100th goal, so he's now part of the 100 club in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea, if you're the owner or the manager of Chelsea, just never sign a striker again in your life. Yeah, I mean, they've ruined nearly every striker they've had in the last 20 years. Drogba is being the exception. Shevchenko, Mutu, Torres. They ruined them all.
The only one that had a really good Costa for a season.
They had a good Costa for a season, and then he went off the boil. Drogba and maybe Anelka are probably the two who were really good, and they were the first two strikers. Since that, they've had no luck. I mean, they signed Lukaku twice. Jesus, it's like United and Pogba. You signed him twice. It didn't work the first time. It's not going to work the second. But that was a good goal. That's all I've seen though. So
yeah, it was a good game. Augsburg played well, but Leipzig just had too much from Werner was on form. Yeah, I think they've hit a bit of form now, Leipzig. It'll be interesting to see what they do the rest of the season. Have you got anything to add, Tim, on the Bundesliga?
Not particularly. I mean, I can tell you a small story about it because you caught me on the hop before, so I didn't know I was going to go that. I didn't realize there was a requirement to go this much in depth on a lot of the games I wasn't familiar with. So that's my mistake. But yeah, you mentioned Hertha before. If I'm right in thinking, FC Union Berlin is still in the Bundesliga, and I'm assuming they're higher than Hertha, which is quite. I mean, I'm doing my very best to bring everything back to some sort of Wrexham comparison. So this is about as good as it's going to get. So I remember going to Union Berlin maybe 5 years ago when they went in the Bundesliga. They had plans, they had designs to, as any sort of ambitious club would. And it's just a really cool ground, kind of similar St. Pauli kind of vibes in their attitude to the game and their fan culture and everything else. So for them to do what they've done and to be above their city rivals, who's obviously got a much bigger stage and bigger following, is astounding, really. So it's kind of, again, it's nice to see a club kind of rise and surpass the neighbours.
I always forget what one is it. One of the Berlin clubs have got quite a lot of money, haven't they? What one is it?
I'm not sure.
We'd probably say that's Hertha out of the two. Union
Yeah,
Berlin.
Yeah,
Hertha are enormous. I know their ground is like ginormous compared to Union Berlin's, but if you ever get a chance to go to Union Berlin, please go, because there's the stadium is essentially, there's a couple of ways to get to it, but one of the best ways is you basically walk through a forest to reach it. It's quite a unique selling point, to be fair.
I mean, Union Berlin are third at the moment. It's just
wow.
It's just weird. I think it's a weird year for football.
Yeah.
Across Europe, really.
It's been a weird few years for football, as far as we're concerned.
Very much so, mate. Very much so.
I believe that goal you've put up there has been disallowed.
Oh, has it? Are you hoping it's been disallowed? No, it has been disallowed.
I got a notification from One Football. Not sponsored, but if One Football want to sponsor the Football Nation podcast, we are up for that. And
that was very neatly done, that.
I was really excited, like.
Next, we go to Spain and visit La Liga, and we've got two games to cover here. Valencia 0, Sevilla 2. So we kind of touched on Valencia 2 already, but still continuing their horrendous form. Not surprising, but Sevilla getting the job done here. Yeah, I haven't got much to add on this, but what do you think, Paul?
I mean, Valencia could get relegated this year.
Oh, yeah.
I did say before, if they go down, they're in trouble because they're in so much debt. But they are, they're 18th at the moment, so 27 points, propped up by Elche and Espanyol. And they're 3 points behind Almeria, who are one place above them. The only good thing is they don't concede many goals, but they don't score many goals either. They've only scored 30 all season in 29 games.
So sad. Such a big club.
They're massive. Do you know, they've been ran, and it will come out. I think, we touch it. I think we say this like every podcast, but there are so many people who just seem to be unable to run a football club sustainably. It's amazing. Valencia are massive European champions, La Liga champions, and they're about to get relegated. They get relegated, they're another Deportivo La Coruña will be playing League Two in a 50,000 seater stadium, and 300 people coming to watch them with the donkeys, and that's it. There won't be anyone else there.
It'd be it's going to be sad, but we I'm not sure when release. It's going to come out this week, but I think Boom's been a bit ill today. But we have got a video from Crazy Boom on the Valencia situation dropping very, very soon. So keep an eye on that. That will be a good video explaining what is happening there, the links to Salford and everything. So that's going to be a good video when that drops. And
We don't talk about Salford.
uh,
Wrexham fans refuse to talk about Salford. They don't exist.
Next, we go to Getafe 0, Barcelona 0. Barcelona trying to bottle the lead here, or is it done?
So look,
No.
it's done, isn't it? 9 points. It's 11 points. It's done. I think Barcelona have got. I didn't see it coming. I think Real Madrid are a good team, and they seem to be invested in young players. But Barcelona they've been so good. They've only conceded 9 goals all season.
Yeah,
9 goals in the league is mental. You know,
but they're going to just throw all that way and sell all their players to get Messi back. So they haven't learned from their financial issues.
I think do you know what? Even if Barcelona sold every one of their players, it still wouldn't clear the debt and allow them to sign Messi.
Yeah,
because
they've told La Liga that I don't know who it is. It could be De Jong. It could be Fati or something. But they've told La Liga they're selling 2 big players to register Messi.
If you sell any of your youngsters to sign a 34-year-old Lionel Messi, then you should be taken to the Spanish Bull Run, tied to a stake, and left there.
I agree. It's ridiculous.
Because that is the stupidest decision you could ever make in your entire footballing career. Oh, I know. We're going to sell Ansu Fati, who's 22 years old, got 15 years ahead of him, could be our next, franchise player in American terms, and we'll get him back for 2 years of Lionel Messi. And then we'll probably re-sign Ansu Fati when he's 27 for 150 million anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. It's stupid. I don't understand.
It makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
It's Football Manager, isn't it? That's what that is. That's Football Manager for you. We'll sell a youth player, and when he does really well at another club because the AI have looked after him, we'll bring him back.
Yep. Yeah. Have you got anything to add on the financial power of Barcelona and their just mismanagement of their finances?
Again, they just never seem to learn their lessons, do they? I mean, it only seemed like 5 minutes ago, like Lionel Messi was crying like he was at his best mate's wake. Like, you're leaving a football club. Get a grip. I know it's a football club you've been to since you were a boy, but it's just the way it was done. It was like, do you ever remember when Tiger Woods had to do a public apology for cheating on his wife? And I was sitting there going, what is he doing? Why is he doing it? Just do a statement and hope it rides out into the sunset. And the Messi thing was a bit cringy. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I still can't get over the fact they've only conceded 9 goals in 29 games. That's
amazing.
That's mental. That's got to be It's got to be the best defensive record in world football
Easily,
right now, I'd imagine.
Probably, yeah. I would think so. They've scored like 50 odd as well. So I think they've scored 55.
Napoli might be close. I know they've dropped off the last few games, but Napoli might be close.
Nice to see.
Napoli have actually conceded 21. See a lot
nice
more.
To see Real Sociedad up there as well. Famous old club.
Yeah.
4th place, 3-point buffer. Decent. Bit sketchy form of late, but Madrid flying, Atletico, that is, just blasting people. But
they're so consistent with that 3rd place finish, Atletico. It's just every season they just seem to grind it out. What'll happen when Simeone leaves will be the thing.
I'm really looking forward to see what happens next year when Simeone leaves his contract, because he's been there so long.
He's the sort of manager that Chelsea would need.
Oh, yeah. He's been linked with that job for about 10 years. It seems.
He would drag them kicking and screaming because you kind of get the feeling that Chelsea are just going through the motions, pampered pooches. They can't be asked. They're not going down. They're not going anywhere else. But they're nowhere near.
We're about to talk about the club I reckon he's going to go to.
Okay.
You reckon he's going to Italy? You reckon he's going to Juventus?
No, I reckon he's going back to Inter. He used to play there.
Reckon?
He used to play for Inter. They're not doing great. I think they might sack the manager at the end of the season. And
Yeah, but they might not have European football
um,
because of what's happened today. They could miss out on Europe. They
yeah,
won't get him if they miss out on Europe. But then Chelsea won't have European football either. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's a good segment.
shot myself in the foot with that, didn't I? It was when it processes in your brain when you're saying a sentence and you realise where you're going with it. You're like, oh bollocks, I'm looking a bit of a tit here. Okay, it happens quite a lot.
Moving on to Serie A, Inter lost 1-0 to Monza, which didn't help their situation. What happened today after that loss? Because Juventus lost as well. But then Serie A have decided to give 15 points back to Juventus that they took away from them. So they were nowhere near Europe. They were in 8th place.
All that
They've now-
shows is Italian football is corrupt as the day is long.
Yeah, they've now gone from 8th in Serie A to 3rd.
It is corruption, isn't it? Because they were deducted points for cooking the books. Essentially, the board all walked out. The board all got suspended, and then they suddenly go, "Well, we'll look at a different punishment. We're not going to take 15 points off you."
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense because they're UEFA rules. They're the FIFA rules. You deduct points if there's financial mishaps.
Yeah.
So to the league to just go, we'll just do our own thing. I wonder.
Yeah.
I do wonder if there's mootings of the Super League coming back. Juventus would leave to go to that, and I wonder if the Italian governing bodies are thinking, keep them sweet. Let's not take the money. Let's not take the points off them, and then we'll definitely keep them. There might be that, but that's the way. Yeah, I mean, Italian football it's a done league, isn't it? This year, Napoli have won it.
Yeah.
Cremonese and Sampdoria to a big club. You wouldn't think they were getting relegated, sitting bottom. Only won 3 games all season.
You've got. We'll go into their Champions League semi-final in a minute as well, but you've got to feel bad for Inter Milan and AC Milan. Like,
I don't like Inter Milan or AC Milan. I don't like either of them.
After they've been battling for Europe all season, they just get knocked
They
out
are
like
genuinely. There are like a couple of clubs around Europe. I have said it before that I just don't like, and I never will like. And it's like the Milan clubs are 2 of them I just don't like.
I've always liked AC.
If I had to pick a team in Italy, it'd be something like Fiorentina.
Yeah.
For me, growing up in the 90s, Batistuta in that purple shirt, it's just like when you're watching the Italian football on Channel 4 on a Sunday afternoon, that was top class. And the Milan clubs, just can take or leave them. And I quite like Inter Milan to miss out on European football because I just think it'd implode. But I do like when a big club suddenly misses out on everything.
Yeah.
Because I think it changes the game a little bit.
I think
I'm more disappointed Juventus got their points back due to their links with Notts County, but that's a different story.
It's a weird league, isn't it? Because going on about that result, obviously Inter lost to Monza, but they both played 30 games, and Monza have only lost 1 more game than Inter. So Monza have lost 12, and they're sitting in 13th, and Inter Milan have lost 11, and they're sitting in 6th.
Yeah.
It is that goal scored thing again, isn't it? Monza have only scored 35 goals compared to Inter's 48. It's amazing how if you have a decent goal scorer in your team, it makes a big difference. Where but the teams that are kind of mid-table, you've got Udinese are there, Empoli, Fiorentina. They're all teams that they're not small clubs. They're not European powerhouses, but then you know what I mean. They're well-known clubs.
It's like an education because I can't remember the last time I looked at the La Liga table in full, and I cannot, for my absolute believe my eyes, that Sampdoria are bottom and completely doomed and out of it. And I've never even heard of Salernitana, so I need to.
Was it Salernitana got promoted a couple of seasons ago for the first time to Serie A, I think, and they've not got relegated since.
They've drawn their last 6.
Yeah, they just seem solid.
I am looking forward to that Milan derby in the semi-final of the Champions League, though.
It got tasty, that didn't it? Lukaku getting sent off, and I mean that is another thing that it's about Italian football. I mean, Lukaku got racial abuse all game, He didn't run over to the fans. He stood on the penalty spot and just saluted them and got sent off.
Oh no.
That's not like the Adebayor running the length of the pitch and knee slide in front of Arsenal, is it? That's pretty tame in comparison. And then Cuadrado got a yellow card, so he's missing it. The Inter goalie Hedanovic got sent off.
Yeah.
The referee lost control of that game, really. I mean, I'm quite happy to see Napoli doing really well.
Yeah, and
I think they're a really good team.
Moving on, before we move on from Serie A to the National League, we have Roma 3, Udinese 0. Great result for Jose. But he's now with, again, what's happened today. He is very, very close to coming out that top 4 now. He had it quite comfortably before today, but this has turned it around.
Do you know what will keep Roma in there? Defensively, they're one of the best in the league. I mean, they're fourth best team in the league defensively.
It's what you expect from a Jose team, isn't it?
So I think that will keep them there. Going forward, they're pretty good as well. 42 goals, so I think they'll be okay. I reckon.
Yeah. So moving on to our topic of the week, we've got some games to start it off with. The National League. And I will head you over to Paul, who's going to go through some of our games before we start our subject.
Yeah, so you picked the games we were talking about before, weren't we? There were so many games, I think, from the last round of fixtures. You could have picked Dorking, because Dorking obviously secured their safety, and the time wasting I saw from Dorking as well. They were playing, they got a throw in, and I'm sure it was at Gateshead. They got a throw in, and the ball boy has thrown the ball back to the Dorking player, who's let it hit him in the face, and he's gone down just to waste time. It was sensational. And he was off the pitch when he did it and just rolled onto the pitch as well. So fair play. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Dorking as well, because I think a little bit like Wrexham with their documentary. If you haven't watched Bunch of Amateurs, I can't recommend it highly enough, because you get a little bit more than you do in the Wrexham one, because you get every game, you get the dressing room stuff. Mark, their manager, is a really top bloke. Like when they played at our place, he was outside the turf with the fans before the game. He made a point of going over, and he put money behind the bar for Wrexham when they went down. So he's Dorking. I've got a very big soft spot for them, and certainly a team I'll keep an eye on next year, because their players as well are more than happy to talk to fans on social media, which you don't get very often these days. They're really happy just to have a bit of banter. It sometimes goes the other way when you've got players like the Barnet goalie doing it, and it goes the other way, and it's not so much a banter, it's just plain abuse. So you picked 3 decent games though. You picked Chesterfield. They beat Eastleigh, and they've kind of taken control of that third spot, you would say now. So they've gone above Woking. Woking do have a game in hand, but they're 5 points behind. Just hit the skids a little bit, Woking. They lost to County at the weekend. The playoffs, Tim, Chesterfield, County are probably going to end up in there. Say one of those two are going to be the big bogey team for the others, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Woking were really good, weren't they? They were the best team to come to the racecourse, and I include Notts County in that. They were really good, Woking, but obviously Notts County made short work of them the other week. I was just about to look then, but I'm pretty sure ever since we beat Chesterfield at home, when they were awful and they were staring down a barrel, and it was really dodgy whether they would make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they haven't lost since then. They've gone on a really good solid run. Yeah, so it's such a strong playoff picture as well. If you take the top, let's just forget the top 2 for a minute, and look at the third down to 7th. It's a strong field, It's a strong field.
Yeah.
Bournemouth no mugs. The only thing that worries me ahead of Saturday is that they come with the best defensive record in the league, So, and a really solid goalkeeper as well. I just think you just never know. Any sort of fan with half a brain would like to see probably Wrexham and Notts County go up, given the gap in points, etc. But we all know it doesn't work that way, and and the National League bosses sought to change the format to make it more interesting. And they got their wish last year when Grimsby, I think they finished 7th and they beat us. So and went on to win it and get promotion. So you just never know. But yeah, I think Chesterfield have hit form at the right time. Dallas is clearly thriving in a better team.
Yeah.
You know, I think hat trick against Torquay, wasn't it? Flying. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, you know, if hopefully Notts County finish second. You know, them and Chesterfield are the ones you think are gonna really be in and around the final, surely. But stranger things have happened, as we all know, in this division. You know, you've got to be at it.
You mentioned it there, didn't you?
You've got to be at it. You
mentioned the Grimsby game, and I've never seen a game of football where I've seen a few with Wrexham, Dover, Barnet this year, where you think neither team actually want to win this game.
But it was just everything that we've got this year is what we lacked in the big matches last year, which is patience and mental strength. Like, and I don't mean this disparagingly, but we got like a young defender, Max Clueworth. He played in that game. He played in a couple of big games this year. He played at Coventry, and whilst he's a good up and coming prospect, I think he's on the verge of getting his 50th appearance for us.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
You know, maybe Grimsby targeted him a little bit last season, and there was just moments we just didn't have the depth last year. And you know, it'll be interesting. And I got a weird feeling that I got a funny feeling that Chesterfield might do it in the playoffs. I don't know why. It's a hunch.
Yeah, I said similar yesterday. I think Chesterfield they've hit form at the right time. Notts County, for all of their ability on the ball, I mean, they had a really good win, to be fair. You know, they demolished Woking. But I think we exposed Notts County's biggest weakness, and that is that ball over the top. They transition from defence to attack quite well in the way they move the ball through the midfield and through the stages. But they don't transition from attack to defence very well. And Dagenham took advantage of it earlier on in the season, which was a massive result for us. And we exposed that. If the linesman knew the offside rule in the game against us, that halftime score is not 1-0 for me. And I think Chesterfield, if they've got a decent manager, they'll have to look at that and go, that is a real area we can target. And if teams don't do that, then you know it's suicide. Really, you can't play through Notts County. They are too good, but you can play over the top to them. And it's not pretty football, but it's really effective football. So,
exactly, exactly that. They're just when Notts County are on it, they're really good. And then I watched that highlights back, because it was such a good game. I thought I want to watch it back. I watched it in the flesh. I want to watch it back. And it's like when they get caught with the balls over the top, it's like somebody's pulled out like an Xbox or PlayStation controller, and they no longer work. They all freeze, and when players run off the pitch in random directions. Watch, if any defender, and this is a rarity, if any defender can collect his own chip and chase from his own half, you can't tell me that Notts County don't have an Achilles heel, because they do.
It was weird watching that as well. Actually, it was like slow motion. It wasn't as if O'Connell's not quick.
We were all expecting offside again, because there was 50 offside before then. So here we go, and they were offside. And I was like, how was that even allowed to happen? And the irony was, his cross was crap.
Yeah.
And the defending was even worse. So it doesn't matter.
It was almost like it was kind of poetry in motion, because I couldn't get a ticket for County, so I was watching it at home. And I was watching it with Casey, my stepdaughter, who comes to the games with me. And she's been coming for about 4 years now. And the last 2 seasons is when she's kind of been old enough to really understand the game. She's learning like the offside rule and stuff like that. And she hates it when other players go down injured, and she just screams. And but she screams like, "Oh, I'm going to go and hit him." Like, shut up. Just sit down and be quiet. Proper like 11-year-old enthusiasm. I was like, and I was watching the game elsewhere, and her mum messaged me. It was like, she's literally on the sofa, jumping up and down because I've walked in front of the TV. You need to control her. No, absolutely not. She's learning well. because she came to Coventry, and all that, and she's seen firsthand what fans are like. She's becoming a proper little football fan.
Nice.
And I think the other side, kind of moving on to the topic of the week, is it is so nice to walk through Wrexham now and see Wrexham shirts and not see as many Liverpool or Man United, Chelsea, City. You now see Wrexham shirts.
I'm walking around Hastings and seeing people in a Wrexham shirt. You wouldn't have expected that a few years back, would you?
It's mental. I think 24,000 shirts we sold this season. And I couldn't get one. I think I said to you, I was desperate to get the white one because I knew that it was changing. And every time I went in the club shop, they didn't have my size. They had the blue shirt in my size for ages. And in the end, I was like, do you know what? I'll just get the blue shirt. At least I can say I've got one this year. By the time I changed my mind, that sold out as well. Like, so this season, it's getting pre-ordered as soon as I can. It's I kind of touched on it before with when we were talking about PSG. I don't know how you feel about it, Tim. I think other teams thrive off the competition from other teams. And I think this season has only happened because Wrexham and Notts County are as good as they both are. I think if one of them isn't there, you have more of a normal season.
To both break 100 points is mental.
Well, we broke the points record for the country on Tuesday night. And we're going to have two teams do it.
Yeah.
And one of them might not go up. That's ridiculous.
That's hard. Like if you go up this Saturday and they don't win the playoffs, that is heartbreaking if you're not fan after that season.
I mean, I won't lie. If they end up in the playoffs, I'll be quite happily kind of hoping they go up because along with us, they deserve it. And but going back to that county game, I think it was, and I'm not kind of picking on Tim because of the video that went on social media because it was so emotional, wasn't it, mate? There's obviously, it's 15 years. People don't realize how hard it's been for Wrexham fans.
It was like a moment in time, and it's one of those.
Yeah.
For me, that Foster save, I will speak about that as important as I speak about Mickey Thomas's goal versus Arsenal because of the context around it, and because we played so well in that second half, and because we'd essentially taught them a footballing lesson, as in the sense that you don't always have to try and play like a fifth division Man City to get results. You can play it long and be just as effective. And we mixed it up, and we were good value for the lead. So when the penalty was given, and none of us knew really why at the time, it was just like, oh, really? And it was at that moment we thought, we are going to Wrexham this. This is where it all starts to unravel. Similar when we played Eastleigh in a playoff eliminator a few years ago, and the ball had crossed the line, but the referee didn't see it. Similar to Grimsby last year when we had a meltdown, we lost 5-4. I thought, is this the moment where you just kind of think that we had a very sketchy performance at Halifax, and are we going to now get a draw and not beat Notts County in the league since they've been back in this division? And so when he saved it, it was just like an outpouring of relief and belief. I didn't mean that to rhyme, but that's the truth. It was just like I was like, maybe the gods have finally aligned to afford Wrexham a break after a decade and a half in this division. Because as ridiculous and as melodramatic as it sounds, there's been occasions where I've gone to Wrexham games and I've genuinely come away thinking, at some point, like one of the national newspapers or something will uncover some sort of dodgy agenda to keep Wrexham in this division and referee backhanders. I was starting to get the belief to it because some of the officiating was beyond reproach. You're just thinking, how has that happened? So for that to finally happen in that game and to get over the line in it was massive. And then we're in a very, very good position.
It's I don't think people, until that game against County, I don't think people realised, and the same with the BT commentators, because the amount of times they commented on it just how bad the officials were.
But
Because,
yeah, I mean, but
you know,
everybody's seen it for what it is now. Like,
yeah,
it's not. It wasn't just us whinging about it's a conspiracy against Wrexham. Literally, I can't. You struggle to find any fan of any team in this division that does not have several gripes about
Yeah.
the officiating in their matches, because it's consistent in the sense it's consistently bad. That's just the bottom line. It's poor.
Yeah.
And
I think that's through the whole of the English pyramid, though. The reffing in this country is horrendous.
I think it is. I think the problem you have with like National League is like we had. I think the guy at Barnet was a referee trainer. He was an assessor.
Yeah.
And he lost control of the game. Don't get me wrong. I said at the time that I thought the McFadzean red card was a red card. I think he left his foot in, he's made contact, and I can see why the referees give it as much as he milked it. But then after the game, he sends Phil Parkinson off for nothing. He let their defender get physical with Phil Parkinson and didn't do anything to him. And that, if you've got him training referees, you can never expect referees to be any good. He missed a blatant handball in the game. Yeah,
we know deep down what it's all about, and they can deny it until they're blue in the face. But everybody, from that referee at Barnet to that goalkeeper at Barnet, and all the other little bits in between, are all dying for a little cameo on Disney and on the documentary, and they want it to be about them. You know what would be better for that person is to have, as referees should, and as professional footballers should, is keep your integrity intact, right? Go away from that game knowing that you've reffed it to the best of your ability and that you've done it well. And then sit at home, watch the documentary when it comes out, say to your wife, I ref that game, and that's how it panned out. Don't go looking for controversy.
Yeah.
Don't go looking for the camera.
The thing is, that goalie would have featured in the documentary because he made an absolute worldie of a save from O'Connell, from a corner from about 3 or 4 yards out. It wasn't very far on the line, and he would have featured anyway. He didn't need to start blowing kisses to the fans at the end of the game, and he didn't need to go on Twitter and start tagging Ryan Reynolds in stuff after the game and make himself look a bit of a tit.
And admit he was acting, whether you...
Yeah, I couldn't believe he tweeted that, his acting skills. It's like, what? You're just a muppet.
I looked at his Wikipedia. I thought, let's have a look where this guy's been. Clearly, he's a bit of a big shot, and he's been round the block a few times. Stevenage. So there you go. That's all you need to know.
But I mean, the contrast is with like Yeovil Tuesday night. Yeovil put up a really good fight for about an hour, I'd say, and then you could see that we just wore them down. And once one went in, it was nice to see Record as well on Tuesday. I mean, there was a moment because I was in the Wrexham Lager stand above the away fans, and I thought at one point he was going to get sent off because he went through. I'm sure it was Ryan Barnett, and he went through him 2-footed right in front of the linesman, and he didn't give anything. I was like, he's going to get sent off here. But to be fair, even their captain came out after the game and was so complimentary about Wrexham as a club, saying, if you want to, because and I feel really sorry for Yeovil fans because they've had the highs, they've been up in the Championship, and a bit like Scunthorpe, they've just plummeted, and now they're National League South, and their captain said after the game, when he joined Yeovil, he said there's two things you can do. It's a place to build a legacy, and it's a place to play good football, I think he said. And he said only one of them now stands true because his legacy now is captaining them down to the National League South. He said it's not built a legacy, it's probably ruined his. But every one of those fans stayed after the game and applauded them, and every one of the Wrexham fans stayed to applaud them as well. And apparently Rob and that came down and made a big point of going to all the Yeovil players and stuff. So they're all going to be in the documentary, not for controversial reasons, but because actually they're just a decent bunch of lads. And there's two ways to go about life, and that you can either be a dickhead or you can be a nice lad. And sadly, the Barnet Coley chose the first choice. So
but the good thing about I say a good thing. I shouldn't say it's a good thing, but when I was on the train back from Barnet, a couple of very, very drunk Manchester Reds accosted me And this is before we started putting the pod on YouTube, by the way. So I'm not really sure how they knew, but maybe
Just recognised your voice.
yeah, maybe. I was sitting there silent to myself, so I don't know how. But they accosted me and they said, "Oh, we've been giving that by loads of goalkeeper, loads of shit." I was like, "How do you mean?" Because we got his phone number.
Oh, I saw this.
How have you got his phone number? He goes, "It's on his Instagram." Like, is it? And he showed me because he runs a goalkeeping coaching thingy. So it's like, get in touch if you want to talk about organising a lesson. So they're just like ringing him, voice messaging him, and his missus took over his phone in the end. And she was just like, "Can you just leave us to getting help us?" I think
that in the Facebook group.
Yeah, I think I heard the other day that somebody left it until Monday as well, and just said, "Oh yeah, I'm just interested about getting some goalkeeping coaching, and I live, 10 miles away from Barnet." And he's picked up because I was only joking. Screw you, up the town. Oh dear me.
Football fans are a different breed. Wrexham fans especially. In terms of relegation, obviously 3 are confirmed down. Torquay are the only ones who aren't relegated. Now Wrexham go their last day of the season, so this is the reason why Tim and I don't want the title race to go to the last day of the season, because if Torquay win on Saturday, Jesus, that's going to be a tough game. Yeah. It's going to be a hard game anyway, because they play Altrincham this Saturday. Altrincham, don't really have anything to play for. They sit mid-table. Torquay aren't in a terrible run of form. They've won 4 on the spin now. It's a hell of a run of form when you're 21st. Do we think they'll stay up?
Well, they got leathered at Chesterfield, didn't they?
Yeah. That's the one game they've lost out of the last 5.
Yeah, but they conceded 5 as well. So
yeah.
So yeah, they've had a good shake of it, and they're having a good go. I kind of feel like they've got. I thought they might have had a game in hand in midweek, but I think Boreham would have. I'm not sure if Torquay have. I think it's just the 2 games left for them, is it? I'm not sure. But
yeah, Boreham Wood, Woking, Solihull, and there's a couple on 43.
All right, okay.
Yeah, there's more than I thought actually. I thought it was like 4 teams, but Weldstone, Gateshead, teams that I don't know why have got a game in hand.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I don't know. Torquay are a weird team. I hope they don't go down, because as a club, I think it's a decent away day. Not that it'll matter to us, hopefully, but it's a good.
It'd be
good
sad
trade.
though, wouldn't it? Because if Torquay go down, that's 3 former Football League clubs. Like I said to someone the other day that I think in my head, Scunthorpe, Yeovil, Southend, Torquay, they're Football League clubs, because they were Football League clubs when I was growing up, and. This year, you could see 3 of them end up in the National League North and South.
Yeah.
So it only seems a few years ago that's like Yeovil were like.
Yeovil and Scunthorpe have dropped from the Championship to National League North and South in the last 10 years.
Yes.
I think Scunthorpe have had 3 or 4 back-to-back relegations now.
Yeah. Horrific.
Horrific. They've just been so badly run. It's. Southend is another one. They've been so badly run. They're lucky to be where they are, really, after the season they've had. Because we spoke to the Supporters Trust before they played us. I think it was the week before, and they went into it. And what their chairman has done, it was so reminiscent of what they did to us. They've stripped that club down of every asset, right down to the light bulbs. The owner owes everything. And I think they believe the only reason he hasn't liquidated the club is because he can't build houses on Roots Hall without there being a football club.
Yeah.
So either way, Roots Hall they can't build houses on it unless the football club are rehomed. If they go bust, you can't build houses on it. So the council were quite smart with that.
I was just looking at the table now. Like, if Torquay were to get out of it, they'd have to win on Saturday and win against us.
Yeah.
On the proviso that Maidenhead went and beat Notts County. So therefore, give us the title without us even kicking a ball. Which bizarrely, I don't know how you feel, Paul. I don't want that to happen. I want us to win. I want us to win it on our own terms. Or are they paying? Is it Maidstone that's playing on?
Maidstone are playing. Maidenhead are at Barnet. So
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, there's absolutely zero chance of Notts County losing on Saturday. we definitely need a win Saturday night. But yeah, Maidenhead go to Barnet, so I'd love to see Maidenhead smash Barnet and put like 5 or 6 past that keeper. But then I'd like to see the relegation stay interesting, because I think Saturday could be, hopefully, touch wood, it'll be the title race done and dusted. We'll be sat top, 110 points, trophy in the cabinet, champagne being poured, and everybody in Wrexham waking up with sore heads on Sunday after a night out in Attic.
And I'll have to update the trailer saying non-league in a picture of Wrexham.
Three teams with the United moniker getting relegated potentially. So Torquay potentially to join Scunthorpe and Maidstone, along with Yeovil Town. Yeah. I think Torquay probably. I think it's probably too far. I think they might be down before we get there.
Yeah, I think even that last day, I think if it'll be very sad to see Torquay go down, like you say, because I suppose the cynical side of football is you've got 46 games to make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, we don't want to be going there needing something, and then they need something. Like, we need something to win it. They need something to stay up. I can't cope, and you just know.
Yeah.
You just know that's another standalone episode of the second season of the documentary. I don't want that episode. That can be the extras on the DVD or something.
It was last year, wasn't it? Where the year before, Rutherford got sent off in the last game of the season, and that has that written it all over it. And
we've got McFadzean's possible final game for us at Barnet being that version of that, modern version of that. So,
I mean, I would say lately as well. I mean, when we went to Coventry, I was quite nervous when we got there and we got in the stands and everything. As the atmosphere built, I was quite nervous, but more nervous because I just didn't want us to get pasted. Playing a championship team at their ground, you always kind of have that. This could be a massacre, or it could be a giant killing. And luckily, it should never have been 4-3 when we were 4-1 up. But there's no way we should. The 2 goals we gave away were poor. And I was buzzing all the way home. But I've been more nervous for the last couple of games than I have been for any game I can think of recently. We're on the edge of something so special. If we beat Boreham Wood on Saturday, we've beat every team in the league.
When we beat Boreham Wood on Saturday,
when? That is outrageous. But the only thing is we have to get, and I've got a picture of him for you, Jono, because I don't think you will have seen him, so I'll put it up on the screen, mate. If I can.
You're going to put Ashmore up. You're going to put Ashmore up, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Where is it?
Somebody described him as an end-of-level boss.
Yeah, this is who we've got to get past on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
He is a beast of epic proportions.
Nice. He'd
But if he was that good, he'd be playing at a high level.
It's very true. I back us to beat anyone at home.
He's good. He's had some decent games against us. That's that aligned to their best defensive record in the league. It kind of makes everybody a bit jittery.
Yeah.
However, it was the same. There's a reoccurring theme of Wrexham this year that even if they're not on it, they know they're not on it, but they trust in the quality to shine in the end. Yeah. And the latest version of that was against Yeovil. It was like, don't panic, because for every 4 or 5 rogue passes or crap Elliott Lee corners, at some point you'll have a moment, and when that moment comes, you'll take it. And we scored 3 goals in 17 minutes. Game over. Yeah. Nobody after that first 60 minutes could have told you there was a 3-0 win on the cards. No way. No way. So with that in mind, I just genuinely think that they've got the mental strength and desire to get over the line. They haven't come this far to stitch themselves up.
I think you'll do it.
I think I genuinely think having Ben Foster in the dressing room helps with that as well. Because there's the so Amy, who does the all the media for the club, didn't she? She's brilliant,
She's
and
a
she does.
AAA.
She her AAA was in the dressing room before the game, and Parky came out and.
Yeah.
Foster just kept talking, don't give them anything. We're right at them. Don't let them settle. They're not going to enjoy this. And straight away, you've got that Premier League mentality, that elite level mentality that Mark Howard, God love him, he's, without Mark Howard this year, we're not where we are. Because I tell you, Christian Dibble plays, we're not in this situation. It's different levels, and there are levels to this game, aren't there? And having Foster come back, even the other night, he made a class save right at the end, reflex save. And
do you think he'll go back into retirement, or do you think they'll extend his contract for next season? Regardless, well, touch wood that you win on Saturday and it's you're a League 2 club next season. But do you think he'll stay for League 2 next season?
40, isn't he?
I mean, it's the $1 million question doing the rounds around here at the moment. And I would not at all be surprised if he did stay on because of I had this conversation the other night because of the growth of the social media platforms, etc., etc. However, you kind of get the sense that he's already grasped the nettle with that, and he's already maxing out, that side of things. I think he's had another extra 200,000 followers on his YouTube and this, that, and the other. So even if he decided to ride off into the sunset with the final trophy of a very nice career, even then it's not going to stop, because if he decides to retire, that documentary comes out, October time or something, he's going to be in that. There's absolutely certain that they'll probably make sure that his Twitter handle, his YouTube, cycling goalkeeper, all that will be mentioned, and therefore captures more people without him even having to break a sweat. So there is that element to it. My personal feelings are, I would almost certainly get rid of all the goalkeepers that we've got. And it's
weird that we've got so many goalkeepers the wrong side of 34.
I just think as good as Foster is, and it'd be good to have him hang around the dressing room. I think that it's a ruthless business, and we have to realise that to progress and go forward, we're going to need a younger keeper at some point.
It'd be good if you could keep him like a goalkeeper coach.
But we've got a goalkeeper coach. How many goalkeeper coaches do you need? I mean,
I think as well the other side of it is that I don't think Foster, a bit like Ollie Palmer, comes up every day of the week, because he lives in the Midlands, doesn't he? So he doesn't. He's obviously got his YouTube stuff to do. So I think like Ollie Palmer's family still live in London, so he travels home for part of the week. So that if you got him as a coach, you'd have to have him back. My fear, a little bit like Tim's, is that our goalkeepers, Mark Howard's 36, I think Leighton's 33, 34 next year, Foster's just turned 40. Goalkeepers can get old overnight because your reflexes go. And if that happens, you're in big trouble. We saw it happen. I mean, go to really elite level. It happened to David Seaman. David Seaman's got reflexes, just went. And when they went, he was half the goalkeeper he was. And Arsenal tried to stick with him and it didn't work. And I don't want that to happen to Wrexham. There are loads of good goalkeepers who are knocking around the lower leagues who you could get. Somebody like Ashby Hammond, for example, who spent the last 12 months on loan, lower leagues. He's only 21, but he's got loads of experience because of where he's been playing. If you want to go that level, you can. There are plenty of goalkeepers. I think Lawrence Figaro used to be at Liverpool, is in League 2 at the moment. It's not a bad goalie. He's 27. So there are options.
I can't remember his name. He was on our bench the other night. We've got I think our third choice goalkeeper now. I think he's like 19. We signed him a few years back under Ollie. And he's meant to be quite good. I think he could use like a League 1, League 2 loan potentially next season.
I think if you take the romanticism out of it, common sense would say we need a new goalkeeper. And apparently Rory Watson is one of the best goalkeepers at the club by all accounts. He's held in high regard, but we don't know anything more than that because he hasn't had game time. So I genuinely don't know what's going to happen with it. But I would suggest that possibly, I know Leighton's contracted for another year, but he's made a crisp packets. So you got to, again, be cruel to be kind.
I mean, the only benefit with Leighton is he's not going to be going back there, is he? So I've never, I mean, I don't know if you know, Jono, but the last 3 times Leighton's been to Bromley, he's got injured. And it's been like serious injury. So it's not been like, oh, he's come off because he's tweaked his hamstring. He's done his knee ligaments this year. He
Jesus.
broke his wrist there last year, and I think the year before he got a concussion.
Yeah.
So it's like career leagues season-ending injuries. 3 years on the spin, and I mean the knee ligaments this year is because they play on AstroTurf, and his studs have caught in the pitch. Luckily, we don't have that next year. But I mean, one thing I would say, and I'm sure 99.9% of Wrexham fans would agree, there probably are still some who don't or haven't taken to Phil.
Yep.
Is we all trust his recruitment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The signings he's made this year have been top notch.
That's a good subject there. Before we move on to our last bit, is obviously with you say about the grass and situation, that's why he keeps getting injured. You compare that the level like you are in the non-league, and then you have Xavi. I don't know if you saw his excuse for why they didn't win against last weekend was because the grass was too long.
That happens all the time, though. I remember West Ham coming to Wrexham and it snowed. Harry Redknapp was manager of West Ham at the time, to the point where we didn't clear the pitch. We cleared the lines and painted them orange. It was back when you didn't have a yellow ball, you had a bright orange ball. It was when Littlewood sponsored the FA Cup. I'm so old. Tim mentioned Mickey Thomas's goal before. I was born, but I don't remember it. But this is like one of my first real memories of the FA Cup, and he blamed the snow for us getting a draw that day because one of his players had never seen snow before.
Hugo Porfirio.
Yeah, you think managers will come out with any levels pathetic, but when you've played at this level, I think that is somewhere Parky's improved this year compared to last year. I think as well as him having his own players in this year, what he tends to tell the players listening to like Sir Ben Foster is, instead of saying we're going to pass and move and keep it on the floor, because not all pitches you're able to do that, we're going to play the situation. If we have to go long, but we go long, which tends to happen more when Ollie Palmer's playing. For some reason, we like to hit 40-yard balls to Ollie Palmer when he's being wrestled, like Triple H taking on the Rock or something.
He does look like a wrestler, doesn't he?
He's a big lad. But then next year that'll change a little bit because the pitches are a bit better quality, you'd think. And yeah, I mean, pitches are just an excuse for me, I think.
Yeah.
I know that this Wrexham team can play pass and move football. I saw them do it at Coventry at times. I saw them do it against Sheffield United as well. So we know they can do it. It's all, you know what, mate? Before you, I'm sure Tim's name, I will take a scuffed or one that comes off the knee, off somebody's arse on Saturday and goes in the first minute. Don't want it in the 90th. I want it in the first minute, and it's a 1-0 for the game. If we win, I don't care.
Yeah,
it'll be horrible. Unless we're like 3-0 up, it'll be horrible. But I don't care how it goes in on Saturday. It can go in off any body part. It's just got to go in. So yeah, it's been too long coming.
Yeah.
I was talking to Casey the other day because we were talking about players I used to watch, and like when I started going, we had Peter Ward and Craig Skinner and all that lot, and then we had the next generation, which was like Robin Gibson, and then we didn't have, or I didn't really have. I had Carl Connolly and Bennett. She's now got Paul Mullin, who will be a legend. He will be held up there in my eyes for the likes of Benno and Carl Connolly and that. And it's now about trying to educate these kids that you're watching legends kind of make their mark on this club here. What they're doing this season, it won't ever be forgotten.
Yeah.
We had it with, like I say, we had it with Gary Bennett, we had it with Carl Connolly. We had it with Imad Bouaim for a completely different reason, other than the fact that he was absolutely crap, but became a bit of a cult hero at the club. But the one unsung hero this year for me is, and probably doesn't get the praise he deserves, is Luke Young, because when he plays, he does the dirty work that you don't really. He doesn't hit the 40-yard passes right to somebody's foot all the time. He doesn't do the fancy flicks. He just works. He's got Duracell bunny.
Yeah.
And seeing him lift the trophy on Saturday will be it'll be emotional. So yeah, I'm
I have
probably
got-
not going to get much work done tomorrow, but you know,
I have got one before we move on to our final little bit. I have got one question for the both of you. What do you think the limit is under the new, the current ownership of? Do you think you'll be like, obviously, there's the dream of reaching the Premier League in the future, or do you
they've been
think?
quite open about this though. I
Do you
don't.
think?
You haven't seen the documentary, have you? Though, so
No,
on the
or-
documentary, Rob says about they know they can get them to a certain level with their funding, and at that point they have to go external. They'll still own the club, but they will get external funding. So if they do that with their connections, the sky's the limit potentially. You know.
Yeah. Because obviously you've
Yeah.
got similar things that's happened in the past. Obviously, like obviously the one I got to go back to is because my reach to United is the class of '92 and Salford. I know you don't like Salford, but obviously they took Salford from the non-league, pumped loads of money into it. And obviously then they found their. I think they're doing all right this season, but they found their level in League Two after a few.
I think the difference with Salford is they don't have what Wrexham do in terms of a fan base.
Yeah.
And they never will. And that's not because, they're a relatively new team. It's because on their doorstep, you've got City and United.
Yeah.
We've got to travel 40 miles to get to Liverpool.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to go and watch another team, they could go and watch those guys that are just this side of the border, but say they're from England, if they really wanted to. Or they could go the other way and go and watch Shrewsbury. They're the nearest clubs, really. So there's no competition in terms of where the fans go, unless you're going to. And the chances of getting a ticket to Liverpool, City, United are slim. I mean, the chance of getting a ticket to Wrexham at the moment are slim, but we don't have that competition.
Chances of getting a ticket to Salford are very high.
Yeah. Massively so. They what do they get? 2,000-3,000 people a week?
Not many. Let's be honest. It's a kind of experiment with Peter Lim and his boys from that 92 team. Blah blah blah. Great. They got promoted. Wonderful. You didn't document it very well, and it wasn't on Disney. Unlucky. You missed your moment in the sun. And we're coming to take your place. So it's all good. Sorry, I had a moment of arrogance there.
Do you know what? He's right though, because I'll tell you what, right? When we played Salford a few years ago, we absolutely dicked them at the racecourse ground, and it was a near enough sellout. And it's before the takeover.
8,500, 5-1.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Gary Neville got really chirpy on Twitter after it. He doesn't ever talk about Salford, but that game for some reason he got dead chirpy, and it's because the Wrexham fans went at him. And that's the only time you ever hear him talk about him. And Tim's right; they didn't publicise what they were doing. And then you've got likes of Paul Scholes, who wants to be a manager, so goes and manages Oldham, and that flopped. Yeah, but it doesn't want to manage Salford.
He wasn't in there for a month, was he?
No.
Was that around his comps? Was that around that he can't be an owner of Salford and be the manager?
Because he was crap.
Yeah,
he was. He was crap. I think you can, but I don't know. Salford are a team that, for me, they're fans that if I had to, I mean, you've got Stockport that aren't far, and Stockport are a much bigger club than Salford are.
Yeah.
There's differences, and it sounds ridiculous. I've always spoke of this idea of a football league natural order. Like, where do you think your team should be? Like, if football was to stop now, where would given everything, the history, the win column, the loss column, whatever, fan base, where would you put your team? And I've always considered Wrexham to be a kind of middle to lower half championship team. I'd take that all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with the greatest respect, which always sounds like it's going to be disrespectful, to the likes of Salford and the likes of Forest Green Rovers, it's a great and it's romantic to have the idea that you're going to take this club and only take it so far. But like that Dale Vince at Forest Green, he's got ideas of building this super wooden stadium for 40,000 people. Have you been to Forest Green? It is literally just a small village in Gloucester.
Yeah.
And again, maybe there's something to be said. Maybe you can build it, but you just feel that it's not. I think where teams have gone wrong with it, or where we've gone right with it, is we've looked at other teams that have tried to build and grow out their fan base and blossom and harness something. It's not quite been there. Whereas for us, it has been there. The hard luck story's been there. The fan base has always been there. The stayaways have always been there. That's the big key to this. Is that I'm sick to death of going to the pub with my dad, and I'd have a bunch of old boys saying, "Oh, yeah, I used to watch Wrexham when they're great, but I won't go now." Shite. Those same people are now back, and they've conveniently forgot about that conversation.
Yeah,
which is great, but it gives you an idea that if you're going to win hearts and minds, you've got to go about it with a good heart and a good mind, and that's precisely what we've got.
Yeah. I think as well the fact that when the owners come over, they make such a big deal of the fans with us. On Tuesday, the cast of Always Sunny were in Wrexham, and they were all in the turf before the game.
Yeah, I saw that.
That you don't get that with any other owners in the country.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird in a good way, but it's very strange to see Wrexham in such a good position that. I mean, I remember like my dad's followed Wrexham for longer than I have, and he's not really social media savvy. He's nearly in his 60s. He's got Facebook, but he doesn't know how to put his picture on it. He's that kind of social media. Oh my god! And I rang him up when the takeover was kind of mooted, and I was like, "Have you seen who's buying Wrexham?" He's like, "Yeah, just two no-opers from America. They won't have a clue."
He said,
"Oh," I was like, Ryan Reynolds knows how to run a business. He's not stupid. And the rumors are of the documentary and all that. So they're going about this the right way. And he still pinches himself now. We were, Tim and I, we were there when they were buckets around the ground, and we had 24 hours, and we've lived it. One thing I do like is the American fans that come over to see the games. There's a guy in Wrexham now, Joe. Sure, yeah, he's Joe. And he's a character. He's always on Twitter talking about the game, but he's actually come over he was there Tuesday. He's going to be there Saturday. Dyed his beard red. He's challenging Ryan Reynolds to a staring contest. I think he's on like day 2000 or something ridiculous now. And everybody's kind of made a big deal of him while he's been in town, taking him to the turf and showing him around and stuff. And that shows a different side of the club and the fans and the people who are involved in the club, that as much as you will see some people say these foreigners and people who weren't watching it, you're not real fans and all that, they're the people who are showing this guy around and other families around. They're showing that actually everybody's fucking welcome at this club. We are a community club, and we are, if we're going to grow, we need them. We're not stupid. So shout out to Millie Tippin as well. Her video on Twitter was funny that she was trying to get in the box for Saturday, in the Aviation Gin Suite, which is the owner's box, after the game. Bumped into Rob and his missus, and was saying, "I've got to sit down here and I can't move and I've got to be dead nervous. Can I not come and sit up there with you on those comfy seats?" And stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's only young, and the owners take the time to chat with her at 10 o'clock after a game at night.
Yeah,
different. It's yeah.
I think that's a good point to go into our last bit on owners. So we're going up to the bottom of League 2 now to End and Rochdale, who have been said if they get relegated, which is looking at the table now, they're on 34 points compared to Hartlepool on 39, Crawley on 42, and Harrogate on 45. Mm-hmm. So they have been said if they get relegated, they could go into an administration, which could
that's the rumour doing the rounds by fans on Twitter. They believe because they've already had a 6-point deduction suspended for 2 years earlier this season for it was how they sold shares last year. So they've or in 2021, sorry. So they've already had an investigation done into them. There is worries that they think the owners could just decide, because it was a failed takeover that caused the investigation. So they kind of feel it. The owners will just cut their losses, and it's a shame. I've been to Scotland, I've been to Rochdale a few times, and it's, you know, it's a lovely place, lovely ground to go to, and you know, the people of Rochdale are really nice people. It would be a shame to see a club like Rochdale go into administration just because the owners can't be bothered anymore and can't sell the club. There's some real concern from their fans.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add on that, Tim?
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Obviously, we were the first club to be docked points when we went into administration under Dennis Smith when we won the LDV Vans Trophy, so 2005. So we were the trendsetters for all the wrong reasons. We know it feels. It can be a big body blow to recover from, you know. And from a selfish point of view, I wouldn't them stay up so we can go there next season, because it's been far too long since Wrexham and Rochdale crossed swords, and it probably almost certainly would have been our Boxing Day, New Year's Day double header, you know, as is usually the case, and that would have been a good one. Would have been a cold one, but it would have been a long overdue welcome one. Decent pies at Spotland, and a shame really, because you know, again, one of those teams that it's easy to fall into the shadow of the likes of Leeds and stuff like that. You know, bigger clubs that are in and around them. So, you know, any fan who goes and watches a local team that could suffer from poor attendances or interest due to you know, more famous higher league teams should always be respected. Banter by all means. But yeah, like Yeovil the other day, you know, 200 odd miles one way just to see your team relegated and go out the league with a whimper. It's proper. That's proper.
Yeah.
Being a football fan, that is proper.
Yeah.
You're there for the good times and you're there for the bad.
Yeah. Hopefully they can find a solution to that situation. Tim, where can we find you?
You can find me on at Fearless ID Zine on Twitter, and fearless.wales for all the sort of fanzine stuff, and there's a little bit on Instagram and Facebook, but I've abdicated those responsibilities for the time being because it is a lot to mobilize. So Twitter's the main thing. We do the spaces on there, and you can find the podcasts streaming in all the usual places and now on YouTube. So just search for Fearless and Devotion and you'll see our lovely, tired, stressed faces as they currently are. I feel like my face is like a leather slipper at the moment. So yeah. But yeah, exciting times, and you know, hit 20,000 Twitter followers every day, which is nuts. I always said I'd like to have the same amount of followers as we do attendances. So technically, I've still done a 5,000 march on that, even when we get a dish down. So happy days.
Nice. That's cool. And Paul, where can we find you?
It's Paul H188 on Twitter. I'll usually be chatting about Wrexham or winding Notts County fans up, specifically Notts County Zone. He sadly deactivated his account after Tuesday night.
Came back for a bit.
He came back after Saturday and then deactivated it again Tuesday night. After he tweeted about he wanted Yeovil to go bust after they lost, and then deactivated his account.
Yeah,
I reckon it's Macaulay Longstaff.
He's a proper lemon and he's funny. On the new stand as well, before we finish, Wrexham got their funding for that yesterday or today. So that is it's a spade in the ground 1st of June, I believe. First floodlights and the new stand, which will be amazing, much to the dismay of Newport County fans. I saw on Twitter moaning that we've had Welsh government money for it. So yeah, up the town.
Poor Newport.
River.
Their lottery money ran out about 5-6 years ago, didn't it? Yeah, hilarious. But yeah, it's nice that Wrexham Council have opened up the purses.
Yeah.
If they could just put 500 grand aside to sort out the potholes around the area to get to the new ground, that'd be great.
And it's Red Dragons TV on YouTube, which tends to be match reviews and stuff like that over there. So as and when I get a chance to do it, I'm not doing this for the Football Nation.
And the non-league show here.
Yeah.
I'm going to
the non-league show here is a lot of fun. To be fair, it's we've had really good feedback on that. Ironically, we had quite a lot of good feedback from Notts County fans in the first episode. I must have been really nice about them because I haven't been nice about them since. So yeah, the non-league show it's going to change next year. Hopefully, it'll be lower league football because I can't, in good conscience, not chat about Wrexham. So it'll be the lower league show next year, I think. All being well, we'll be changing it on Saturday at 10 o'clock at night.
Yep. And you can find me, johnno.tv on Twitter. You can find me in a lot of spaces at the moment. I'm doing a lot of United YouTube, Twitter spaces. And I just want to massive thank everyone as well for all your support. We hit 250 on YouTube earlier today, which is massive. Our next target is
350.
So
350.
Yeah.
Not 250. Don't take 100 followers off us, mate. We need every single one of them to,
Yeah, 350. Sorry, yeah. Yes. Massive thanks for all of your support on that, and we will see you very soon on the Football Nation. Good night.